Hello everyone, I love telling stories, so before we begin, a quick like and subscribe is always appreciated. Thank you. And now let's begin. The cold breath of March 14th, 2024 hung heavy in the air as a demolition crew dismantled the skeletal remains of an abandoned textile factory in Springfield, Ohio. For 5 years, since 2019, the cavernous building had stood silent, a forgotten relic of its 60-year history as a garment manufacturer. On the second floor, a sledgehammer tore through an interior wall, the resounding crack echoing through the empty space. But this blow revealed more than just crumbling plaster and lath. It opened a cavity that should not have existed, and from its hidden depths, something tumbled out. Fabric. Pink fabric. Miguel Santos, one of the crew, knelt to retrieve it. It was a dress, unmistakably a prom dress from the 1980s, all voluminous, puffy sleeves and shimmering pink satin. But what caught his eye, even more than its dated style, were the dark brown, ominous stains that marred its delicate surface. He called his supervisor. As they examined the garment more closely, a chilling detail emerged. Meticulously sewn into the inside hem, not printed, but stitched with dark brown thread, was a message. The thread itself looked as if it had been steeped in something viscous and sinister. The words formed, stark and undeniable. Jennifer Walsh. He didn't drop me off. He brought me here. Miguel dropped the dress, the metallic clang of his sledgehammer still ringing in the vast, empty factory. He immediately dialed 911. What he had stumbled upon would unravel a 39-year-old enigma, a silent scream from a teenage girl who vanished on prom night in 1985, leaving behind a final, desperate message before her death.
Jennifer Walsh was a beacon of youthful promise in May 1985. A 17-year-old senior at Springfield High School, she excelled academically, dreaming of Ohio State University in the fall. Her world revolved around David Ross, her 17-year-old boyfriend and fellow senior. For 2 years, they had been the quintessential high school sweethearts, admired by all. Prom, on May 18th, was the zenith of Jennifer's anticipation. She had spent weeks excitedly planning, even purchasing her dream pink satin dress from a local boutique, paid for with hard-earned money from her part-time library job. It was perfect. Puffy sleeves, a full skirt, the very essence of 1985 fashion. Her mother, Carol Walsh, captured the vibrant moment in photographs. Jennifer, radiant in her pink gown, hair teased high, makeup flawlessly applied. David arrived promptly at 7 p.m., a vision in a powder blue tuxedo. More photos were taken, preserving the image of Jennifer's boundless joy and excitement. They departed for prom at 7:15 p.m. It was the last time Carol Walsh saw her daughter alive. The high school gymnasium, transformed by decorations and pulsating with music, laughter, and dancing, hosted a typical prom. Yet, amidst the revelry, an undercurrent of discord brewed between Jennifer and David. Several classmates witnessed their arguments. Around 9:30 p.m., Jennifer's best friend, Amy Chen, found them near the punch table, their voices tight with tension. Jennifer, though visibly upset, brushed it off as a mere disagreement. Later, around 11 p.m., Tom Bradley, another classmate, observed a more serious altercation. Jennifer was in tears, David's face contorted with anger.
At approximately 11:30 p.m., Jennifer and David walked out of the prom together, heading towards David's dark blue 1982 Chevrolet Camaro. Several onlookers confirmed their departure. This was the last confirmed sighting of Jennifer Walsh. David, when questioned by police, maintained a consistent story for 39 years. He drove Jennifer straight home. Their argument, he claimed, had been about college, her desire for Ohio State, versus his preference for community college. She had suggested they break up, pursue separate paths. Despite his upset, he insisted he drove her home, dropping her off at 11:45 p.m., watching her wave as she walked to her front door before he drove away. It was a meticulously constructed lie. The truth, far more sinister, unfolded differently. David, consumed by anger and hurt, did not take Jennifer home. Instead, he drove to the Riverside textile factory, where his father, Frank Ross, worked as a night supervisor, a position he'd held for 15 years, overseeing the 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift at the 24-hour operation. Frank, armed with keys to every corner of the vast complex, was a familiar presence. David knew his father would be there. At 11:45 p.m., David pulled his Camaro into the factory parking lot. He told Jennifer he needed to make a quick stop, claiming his father had forgotten something at home and he'd promised to deliver it. Confused but trusting, Jennifer waited in the car. Inside, David found his father on the production floor and poured out his grievances about Jennifer's desire to end their relationship. Frank listened, then uttered words that would forever alter Jennifer's fate. "Don't worry, I'll talk to her. Bring her in. I'll make her understand. You two are meant to be together."
Returning to the car, David coaxed Jennifer inside, insisting his father just wanted to meet her for a moment. Though reluctant, already past midnight and wanting to go home, Jennifer relented under David's persistent assurances that it would only take a minute. She followed him into the sprawling factory, up to the second-floor offices. Frank awaited them, a friendly smile gracing his lips. After a perfunctory introduction, Frank invited Jennifer to sit, launching into a disquieting monologue about relationships, commitment, and the folly of giving up on love. Jennifer grew increasingly uncomfortable, maintaining a polite but strained demeanor. After perhaps 10 minutes, she rose, stating firmly that she needed to go home. Her parents would be worried. Frank stood as well, then, turning to David, instructed his son to go home. He would drive Jennifer himself, allowing them to talk on the way. David hesitated, but his father's insistence was absolute. "Go home, son. I'll take care of this." David, a pawn in his father's chilling scheme, left, driving away in his Camaro, abandoning Jennifer alone with Frank Ross in the deserted textile factory at midnight. It was the last time David saw Jennifer alive. At 1 a.m., Carol Walsh awoke, a knot of unease tightening in her stomach. Prom had ended at midnight. Even with after-parties, Jennifer should have been home by now. Carol's calls to David's house were unanswered. Her calls to Jennifer's friends yielded nothing. No one had seen her since she left prom with David. By 2 a.m., Carol woke her husband, Robert, and they contacted the police, reporting Jennifer missing. The officers, dismissing their fears, advised them to wait until morning. Teenagers stayed out late after prom, they said. Give her a few more hours. But Carol knew. Jennifer always called if she was going to be late. Always. By 7 a.m., Jennifer still hadn't returned. A formal investigation commenced. David Ross was the first to be interviewed, reiterating his fabricated story. He dropped Jennifer off at her house at 11:45 p.m., watched her walk to the door, then driven away. Police visited Jennifer's home. Her parents confirmed the front door was unlocked when they awoke. No signs of forced entry, no struggle. Jennifer's bedroom appeared undisturbed. Her purse and house keys were missing. The police, accepting David's account, theorized Jennifer had made it home, then left again, perhaps to meet someone, or even run away. David's story held up. The investigation continued,
with interviews of Jennifer's friends, searches of the neighborhood, and checks of local hospitals. Nothing. Jennifer Walsh had simply vanished. Frank Ross was also interviewed. As David's father, police sought to ascertain if David had appeared upset or unusual that night. Frank calmly lied, stating David had returned home around midnight, seemed fine, and went straight to bed. He omitted any mention of David stopping at the factory or of meeting Jennifer. He was a picture of concerned fatherhood, smooth and deceptive. The police had no reason to suspect him. The search for Jennifer stretched into weeks, volunteers tirelessly combing nearby woods and fields. Police dragged the local river, scoured abandoned buildings, but found nothing. By June 1985, the case had gone cold. Jennifer Walsh had disappeared, leaving behind no body, no evidence, no answers. The truth of Jennifer's fate remained buried for 39 long years. Yet the evidence she painstakingly created would ultimately tell her story. This is what we now know. After David departed the factory at 12:15 a.m., Frank Ross locked Jennifer in the second-floor office area, cruelly telling her David would return in the morning, that they just needed time to cool off and think. Jennifer, realizing the horrifying truth of her captivity, immediately tried to leave, only to find the doors unyielding. Frank had locked her from the outside. She was trapped. The office offered a bathroom, a desk, a phone, but the phone line had been cut. The windows, thick safety glass, were locked, and the second floor was too high for a safe escape. Jennifer was alone, imprisoned in a vast textile factory at midnight, at the mercy of her boyfriend's father. For the next several hours, Jennifer fought for her freedom. She found what meager tools the factory offered, a letter opener, scissors, and tried to pry open the door lock, then to break the window. Futile. By 2 a.m., a chilling realization dawned. She might not escape. And with it, another, more profound understanding. She had to leave evidence. If something happened to her, someone needed to know the truth. Her gaze swept across the office, a treasure trove of the factory's trade. Fabric samples, spools of thread, needles, sewing supplies. Jennifer, having taken home economics, knew how to sew. Her eyes fell on her prom dress, the beautiful pink satin she had worn with such joy just hours before. Now, it might be the only thing that survived to tell her story. She found an industrial sewing needle, strong and sharp, and a spool of white polyester thread, the resilient kind used in factory production, designed not to rot. She needed her message to be visible, enduring. A prick of her finger with the needle, and drops of her blood fell onto the white thread, soaking it until it turned a dark, ominous red, then brown. She let it dry slightly, then threaded the needle. Pulling up the inside hem of her dress, a hidden space unseen by casual eyes, she began to sew. Simple backstitch, clear letters. Jennifer Walsh. Then, he didn't drop me off. Finally, he brought me here. Each letter meticulously formed, each stitch tight and even. It took her over 2 agonizing hours. Her fingers cramped, the blood on the thread dried to a deep brown, but the message was undeniable, woven into the very fabric of her dress. Evidence that would last for decades if necessary. At 5 a.m., footsteps, keys rattling in the door. Frank Ross had returned. Jennifer stood, her voice trembling but firm, demanding to be released, threatening to expose his actions to the police. Frank's friendly facade dissolved, replaced by a cold, menacing gaze. He told her she should have just agreed to stay with David, should have been smart. Now she'd complicated everything. Jennifer tried to run, but Frank, larger and stronger, seized her. They struggled. Jennifer's screams lost amidst the thrumming machinery of the production floor 2 floors below. No one heard.
The struggle lasted perhaps 5 minutes, then silence. Jennifer was dead. Frank Ross had strangled her. Panic seized him. 5:30 a.m. Shift change was at 7 a.m. He had 90 minutes. Frank stripped Jennifer of her blood-stained prom dress, evidence he could not leave with the body. He wrapped her lifeless form in factory tarps and plastic sheeting, loaded it into his truck, and drove to a remote location where he disposed of the body. To this day, despite extensive searches following the dress's discovery in 2024, Jennifer's remains have never been found. Frank was thorough, but he made one crucial mistake. He kept the dress. To dispose of it with the body was too risky, a forensic nightmare of blood evidence. He needed to hide it separately. And he knew the perfect place. In May 1985, the factory was undergoing renovations. New office spaces were being constructed on the second floor. Interior walls were going up, drywall being installed. Working the night shift, Frank had unfettered access to the construction area deserted in the dark hours. He took Jennifer's dress to the new section, found a wall cavity yet to be closed, wadded up the dress, and shoved it deep into the space between the studs. Then he drywalled over it himself, sealing it in. The dress vanished into the wall, concealed behind drywall and paint, hidden from the world. The construction crew arriving the next day completed the wall, never noticing the section Frank had already closed. The dress remained there, entombed within the wall, for 39 years.
David Ross arrived home from the factory at 12:30 a.m. the night Jennifer disappeared. His father had not yet returned. David went to bed, only to be awakened at 8 a.m. by police knocking on the door. Jennifer was missing. David reiterated his well-rehearsed lie. He dropped her off at 11:45 p.m. She went inside. He drove away. He made no mention of the factory or of his father's encounter with Jennifer. Later that day, Frank pulled David aside, spinning a tale of Jennifer running away, leaving town, wanting no one to know. David, confused, asked where she had gone. Frank dismissed his questions, asserting that she was gone, and David needed to stick to his story. He dropped her off, nothing more. If he didn't, David would also face trouble. Bringing her to the factory, Frank warned, would make David an accessory. They would both go down. David, a terrified 17-year-old, believed his father and obeyed. As days bled into weeks and Jennifer remained missing, a chilling realization slowly dawned on David. Something was profoundly wrong. He pressed his father again, but Frank clung to his lie, telling him not to ask again. But David was not stupid. He knew Jennifer would not simply vanish, and his father's erratic, nervous, angry behavior screamed of a deeper, darker truth. David understood. His father had done something to Jennifer. He had killed her. But David was paralyzed by fear. To tell the police would be to admit his own complicity in bringing Jennifer to the factory. He would be charged as an accomplice, a fate his father had carefully engineered. So David remained silent. He lived with the crushing weight of guilt and knowledge for 39 years. He watched Jennifer's parents plead for information on the news, watched the futile searches continue for months. He knew where Jennifer had been that night. He knew his father had killed her. He said nothing. The guilt devoured him, leaving him a shell of his former self. He descended into alcoholism, battled depression, never married, never knew a normal life. The secret consumed him, but he never spoke. Too afraid. And his father, wielding absolute power, ensured his silence. Frank Ross died in 2018 of a heart attack at 71, taking his secret to the grave, or so he believed. The dress, however, remained. The factory closed in 2019, standing abandoned for 5 years. In 2024, developers acquired the property, planning demolition and the construction of apartments. Demolition began in March. As the crew worked floor by floor, they reached the second-floor offices. On March 14th, Miguel Santos's sledgehammer broke through a section of wall. The dress, after 39 years of silent vigil, fell out. Still intact, the message still meticulously sewn into the hem. Jennifer Walsh, he didn't drop me off, he brought me here. Police immediately reopened the cold case. Forensic teams meticulously examined the dress, confirming the dark stains were indeed blood, and that the thread used for the message was also blood-stained. DNA testing matched the blood to Jennifer Walsh. Her parents had preserved her hairbrush, and a viable sample remained. The dress was undeniably Jennifer's. The blood, undeniably hers. The message, undeniably sewn by her hand. She had left evidence, proof. After 39 years, it finally saw the light. Investigators pulled old case files, reviewing interviews. David Ross's name leaped out immediately, the last person to see Jennifer. They tracked him down. He was 57 years old, living in a dilapidated trailer on the outskirts of Springfield, an alcoholic and unemployed man, adrift in a sea of his own making. When detectives appeared at his door, David broke down, weeping. He had been waiting, he confessed, for 39 years for them to come. David recounted everything: how he'd driven Jennifer to the factory, how his father had told him to leave, how he'd gone home without her. He spoke of his father's lie the next day, claiming Jennifer had run away, and his slow, horrifying realization that his father had killed her. He spoke of his paralyzing fear, which had silenced him for so long. David led police back to the factory, showing them the exact spot where he'd left Jennifer that fateful night, the second-floor offices. A search of the area uncovered further evidence: bloodstains still present beneath carpeting installed in 1986. Chemical testing confirmed human blood, and DNA matched Jennifer Walsh. She had died there, in that office, just as her message declared, "He brought me here."
David was charged with accessory to murder, evidence tampering, and obstruction of justice. His father was beyond the reach of earthly law, but David had brought Jennifer there, had abandoned her, and had lied for 39 years. The prosecution argued David's complicity. The defense painted him as a terrified teenager manipulated by his monstrous father. The case went to trial in November 2024. David pleaded guilty, stating he deserved whatever sentence he received, having lived with the unbearable guilt for almost 4 decades, and simply wanting it to end. He was sentenced to 15 years with the possibility of parole, now serving time in Ohio State Penitentiary. He has told investigators everything he knows, but Jennifer's body has never been found. Frank Ross took that final, terrible secret to his grave. Jennifer's parents, Carol and Robert Walsh, now in their 70s, had never surrendered hope. Jennifer's room remained a sacred shrine, untouched, preserved exactly as she had left it. Every year on her birthday, Carol would buy a cake, sing "Happy Birthday" to an empty chair, clinging to the desperate hope that Jennifer would somehow return. When police called in March 2024, announcing they had found Jennifer's prom dress, Carol collapsed. After 39 agonizing years of not knowing, They finally had answers. Not the answers they longed for, but answers nonetheless. Jennifer hadn't run away, hadn't abandoned them. She had fought. She had left a message. She had tried to tell them the truth. And 39 years later, that message had finally been heard. The dress is currently held as evidence. But once the trial concludes, Carol and Robert have requested its return. They wish to bury it, to hold a memorial service, to offer Jennifer something resembling a funeral, even though her body remains lost. The message sewn into the hem means everything to them. Proof their daughter fought back. Proof she wanted them to know the truth. Proof she loved them and tried to come home. Carol plans to frame the hem of the dress, ensuring Jennifer's words will never again be hidden. Jennifer Walsh, he didn't drop me off. He brought me here. 7 words, sewn in blood-stained thread. Evidence that lay hidden in a wall for 39 years, yet evidence that never ceased to speak the truth.
The Riverside Textile Factory site now stands empty. Demolition completed in May 2024. The developers, deterred by the torrent of negative publicity, abandoned their apartment project. The lot sits vacant, a stark, silent testament. Some locals believe it should remain that way, a perpetual memorial to Jennifer Walsh. Others advocate for something good to be built there, a park, a community center, something to honor her memory. No decisions have been made, but a small, makeshift memorial has taken root at the site. Photos of Jennifer, vibrant flowers, flickering candles, her senior class photo from 1985, a smiling 17-year-old brimming with hope and dreams. People leave notes, messages of sorrow. Sorry no one found her sooner. Sorry no one looked in the factory. Sorry her boyfriend's father evaded justice for so long. Sorry she had to sew that message. Sorry she died alone and afraid. The memorial grows each week. Springfield has not forgotten Jennifer Walsh. David Ross will be eligible for parole in 2039, 15 years from now, when he will be 72. If he is released, Carol Walsh has stated she has no desire to see him, no interest in his apology. Nothing he says will bring Jennifer back. Yet she also believes David was a victim too, a victim of his father's manipulation and violence, a scared teenager who made terrible choices. She does not forgive him, but she understands he did not kill Jennifer. His father did, and his father is dead. Justice for Frank Ross is impossible, but David is paying the price for his role. That, for Carol, will have to be enough. Jennifer's story has captivated media since the dress's discovery. True crime documentaries, podcasts, news specials. Her case has become a powerful symbol of how evidence can endure decades, how victims can still speak even after death, how the truth, inevitably, always finds a way to surface. Forensic experts hail Jennifer's decision to sew the message as brilliant. The blood-stained thread ensured permanence, preservation, visibility even after decades. Had she written on paper, it might have disintegrated. Had she scratched something into wood, it might have been painted over. But sewing into fabric, particularly a dress that would be kept as evidence, was genius. She was smart, resourceful, and she ensured that if someone found that dress, they would know the agonizing truth. The case has also sparked uncomfortable questions about the original investigation. Why didn't police search the factory in 1985? David had access through his father. Jennifer had been there that night. Yet David remained silent, and Frank Ross certainly volunteered no information. Police fixated on the theory that Jennifer had run away, that she had made it home, and then left on her own. Other leads were not aggressively pursued. Looking back, investigators concede mistakes were made. A more thorough investigation might have uncovered the truth sooner. But in 1985, without cell phone records, surveillance cameras, or modern forensics, building a case was far more challenging. David's alibi seemed solid. He drove her home. Her parents found the door unlocked. It seemed to make sense. Except it wasn't true.
The dress tells a story far beyond the sewn message. Forensic analysis reveals bloodstains consistent with a violent struggle, blood spatter on the bodice, defensive wounds suggested by patterns on the sleeves, bloody handprints on the skirt. Someone grabbed Jennifer. She fought back. The dress documented that desperate fight, alongside the message sewn in the hem. The dress is a complete testimony to Jennifer's final, terrifying hours. Evidence that speaks when the victim cannot. Evidence that waited 39 years to be heard. And when it was finally found, it screamed the truth. Every stain, every thread, every letter sewn by Jennifer's hand. All of it. Evidence that justice delayed is not justice denied. Justice just took 39 years to arrive. Springfield High School now has a memorial for Jennifer, a plaque in the hall near the gymnasium where prom was held in 1985. It reads, "Jennifer Walsh, class of 1985, forever 17." Her classmates, now in their 50s, often visit, leaving flowers and sharing cherished memories. Jennifer was kind, smart, funny, aspiring to major in education, to become a teacher. She would be 57 years old now, would have lived a full life, a career, perhaps a family, all stolen from her by a man who believed he could bury the truth. But Jennifer ensured the truth would be found, even if it took 4 decades. Her message survived, and justice, delayed but determined, finally arrived.